Yeah, like, I don't know what it is about kid shows and things. They basically, this is gonna sound mean, but kid shows nowadays hold people's hands and they make something that is so heroic and so heartbreaking seem like the person that's doing it is being a jerk. And I'm like, what?
Absolutely.
Danny in and of himself is a really great person. He just has issues and he's a teenager. No teenager knows what they're doing at that point. Like, they might seem like it, and sometimes they do. I will admit, sometimes they really do know what they're doing and they do their best to do it. But like, he's trying his best with these powers he does not understand, with people that are more experienced than him. He's half human and half ghost. Like, anybody that knows could easily be very, for lack of a better way of putting this, like, they could be very racist towards him. And some of them are. Some of them treat him like a lesser being because he is half ghost and half human. And that's a lot to deal with. And it sucks that a lot of people have to deal with something like that just because of whatever their circumstances may be. But he's not a bad kid. And he tries so hard to do the right thing while having no idea what the right thing is. And I'm like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, I do not understand why so many... So, there's this YouTube channel that I watch now. It's called Cinema Therapy. They analyze stuff like that, and they analyze, like...
Oh, yeah.
I love them so much, because, like, it's so eye-opening to, like... I love their Psychology of a Hero series, because they have done, like, Spider-Man. They've done, like... They kind of, like, they touched on Moon Knight for sure. And like they put so much, like, one of them is an actual psychologist and one of them is a filmmaker, and like they genuinely put a lot of thought into what these characters are going through or what's going through their head. And like, if they say something bad, it's not because they're trying to be mean, it's because they're constructive criticism, basically.
Yeah, I get that.
I would love to hear what they have to say about Danny Phantom, just because like, that part that I was talking about specifically, there's nothing in here. But, like, I would love to hear what they would say specifically about the scene I was talking about, with a bit of context, of course, but I would love to hear what they would have to say about that. Because, to me, Danny giving up something that he has clearly had some great times with and loves so much, he's just been pushed to the point where he feels like life would be better without his powers, because then the people that he loves won't be in harm's way, and he won't have to worry about, are they going to be protected? What if I'm not there? What if something happens and I can't get there in time? What if I die and they're in trouble? It's a lot. And he's just been pushed to the point where he decides that it's better for the people around him and for him to not have these powers. And the fact that he has to make that choice alone is awful. But also the fact that people treat him like a jerk for having to make such a tough decision at such a young age. He's like 14. And I guess technically he would probably be around 15 in that point in the series. But 15? Like, he's in like sophomore year, like maybe junior year of high school, depending on what day you were born, but like 2 or 3 years into high school at most, and having to make that choice while also, he's not like a dumb kid, I don't believe personally that he's supposed to be dumb in like the actual show. He struggles a lot, but it's partially because he's out being a hero so often that he struggles because he can't study, or like ghosts stop him from studying and he can't do all of this stuff, so he falls behind. Because what is he gonna do? It's so hard for him to like keep up with everybody else, because like other people have sports, some people do have bullies, some people have other activities, band, for example, choir, theater, whatever it is that you have. He has to go out every single night. Well, he doesn't necessarily have to, but he chooses to go out and help people, and he gets blamed for so much stuff, and people like are such a jerk to him about like the things that he does. Like, the fact that other people treat him like he's a jerk for not wanting all of that is so fucked up. But yeah, like, I get very heated about discussing these kinds of things. Like, characters that I love, I could talk to people all day about characters that I think are really cool or that I love because they're genuinely really cool to me. Like, Danny is a character that I chose because, this might sound dumb, but I kind of identify with him more than other traditional characters. He tries so hard and gets knocked down so so hard. You just can't help but kind of feel for the guy, and in my opinion, some people might not, and that's totally fine. That's their own thing. But personally, I just identify with him so much that I'm like, this dude is the guy that I'm going to write about constantly. Why? Because it's my choice.
Yeah, he definitely seems like maybe not someone you could, like, a lot of people can easily relate to, but to people who have like a really strong sense of justice or right and wrong, or feel like they have a responsibility to those around them, he's definitely like a poster child for that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, he's, for lack of a better way of putting it, he is the kind of guy that you can see yourself in, whether you're bullied or not. As long as you have a sense of like wanting to help people, or you've been the kid that wanted powers and this guy actually gets them, but you get to see what he does with them. And at first, he definitely does not make all the right decisions with them. He uses them to mess with people and get back at people. And a character in it, I don't remember his name right now, but he was also a bully victim. He's actually the guy that first gives us the term Haffa. He sees what he's doing. He's messing with Dash because he's a bully. And he tells him, like, you're a Haffa and you have all of this power and you're using it to be a bully? And, like, that I really like, because I think that really hits Danny in, like, oh my gosh, I'm using these for the wrong reasons kind of thing. And obviously, Danny has to relearn the same lessons over and over and over throughout the series. Like, that's a very common thing with kids shows like that, is no matter how many times it happens, they have to relearn it over and over and over and over again. But like, he does retain some of the lessons that he learns throughout the series, especially later in the series. Like, a lot of series like that are constructed to be a series where you can just pop in at any point and be able to at least roughly figure out what's going on. Like, this is the main bad guy, these are a bunch of the other bad guys that he fights sometimes, and this is the main baddie, and he orchestrates all of this stuff, and oh my gosh, this is his reason for doing it? That's dumb, usually. But yeah, like, it's one of those shows where you can at least roughly figure out what's going on just by sitting there and kind of figuring out what's happening through dialogue and context.
Yeah.
The dude's not dumb. I genuinely believe the dude is not dumb. He just acts really dumb. But what teenager doesn't? Genuinely. Exactly. I used to act dumb as a teenager, and it wasn't because I was dumb. It was just because I did dumb things. Because I was like, oh, I can do this thing and you can't stop me. Yes, they could. But I thought they couldn't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I have a little bit of a rebellious streak.
Yeah, my parents were great in the sense that they would not stop us from doing dumb things so that we would learn it was a dumb thing and not do the dumb thing again. They were not super controlling with us, and this is proven. If you don't try to control your kids all the time and you're not a super controlling parent, they will be less rebellious because they feel like they have more freedom, so there's less of a reason to rebel. If you're constantly trying to like control them or who they talk to or like what they see online or whatever, it's not going to work. If you give them a certain amount of freedom, they're not going to rebel as much because they feel like they have what they want.
Absolutely. I think that was my parents' teaching style or parenting style, because me and my siblings, we never really had a rebellious streak or rebellious time in pretty much any point in our lives. I remember the only time that I was really rebellious about something was my mom didn't want me having my phone in my room at night because like it would keep me up all night and I'd have to go to school the next day. And I was just very adamant that I wanted my phone in my room, because this was at the time where I was reading a lot of fan fiction and talking to you, so I was very insistent. Oh,
so this was around the time you started talking to me. Yes, I will give you bad influences. Mwahaha.
No, you just made me so happy because I was in like a really bad place in my life, and talking to you was like a highlight of my day, and so I didn't want to lose that, and so I just insisted on keeping my phone, and eventually she just gave up, and that was the only real thing that I was very rebellious about that I can remember.
Yeah, like, it amazes me the fact that some people think of me as, like, not a celebrity, but somebody that is, like, hard to reach. I'm not. Like, if you talk to me, I will probably talk to you. There are very few times when I don't answer comments, and it's either because other people are talking to each other and I don't feel like I need to chime in, or because it's a comment that I don't think I need to respond to. Like, the people that say, like, oh, I won't read this because this isn't how I see these characters. Like, I'm not going to respond because I don't think I need to. Like, okay, you don't see him that way, read something else, happy to have you. You checked it out and decided you didn't want it, but, like, that's fine. Like, I don't respond to that because there's no reason for me to. It's like, you've made your decision, and I am not gonna try and change it or defend myself because it's not for everybody. No thing in media is supposed to be for everybody. If you don't like it, you don't have to read it, and it's not gonna hurt anybody's feelings. It certainly doesn't hurt mine. I know that I am not for everybody. I am very specific in my writing style. I am very specific in how I write things and what I write about, and if you don't like it, I'm not gonna be upset. Like, those are the few times when I will not respond to somebody, and it's not because I don't want to or because I think that I'm better than you or anything. It's just because I don't think I need to. It's like, you've made your decision. You're a person, possibly adult. I don't know what you are, but I can't change your decisions. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know how you want me to respond to that, but if you don't like it, I'd be free, my brother. What?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't understand why people go out of their way to tell you that they don't like something, as if they're expecting you to be like, oh, well, what do you want? Let me just change my entire content for you, this one specific person.
Yeah, like, I'm very glad that a lot of people like my writing. It's very humbling. It makes me a better writer because I can figure out what does and doesn't work, and it gives me motivation to continue, but it also gives me a chance to explore who I want to be as a writer and what level I want to be at. So having people read it is awesome. It's great. I love it. It's really cool to, like, hear from people and hear them say if they like something or they thought, like, oh, this was a weird twist, and I'm like, yeah. I usually have a reason for everything that goes into that book. If I will come up with ideas and think, this is a really cool idea, I really want to do this, and then it doesn't fit to where the story is going, so I either forget about that idea or I use it somewhere else in a place that it does work. I don't like to force a story to go in one direction. I want it to be as fluid and as seamless as possible. I don't want to force it in one direction and make it seem, it's hard to describe. I'm better at writing than I am at speaking. But
I get what you mean, though.
Yeah, I don't like it when people will force a story in one direction and they're so adamant on doing it that specific way that if it doesn't happen, then they're just not going to write it. Like, I will stop writing things, but it's not because I don't want to write for it. It's because I am so tired and so unmotivated and burnt out that I just stop. But, like, lately, you know this, and I'm gonna say it for context for everybody out there, I stopped writing for almost a year recently, and that was because at the time, I had just quit a job because of a manager, and I'm not gonna get into that whole thing, because I don't know if people want to hear that whole story, but I had just quit that job, and I was burnt out because I was working all the time, and I came back, and I felt better, and I started writing again, and I held on for a couple of months, and I got another job, and at first it was fine, and then I started getting really burnt out because I was working almost 40 hours and it was a really high labor job, so it was not easy to do constantly every day. So I got burnt out and I stopped writing, and I continued to do a job that I hated, and just because I wanted and needed money. So I continued to do a job I hated, and I recently left that job as well for reasons that I will also not get into unless people want to hear that story. I didn't stop writing because I didn't want to write for those ideas. It was because I was so burnt out and tired from everything else in my life that I couldn't keep up the quality that people want or I expect of myself when writing if I continued to do it while I was so stressed and tired and burnt out. So I stopped writing, and I'm starting to get back into it again because I just recently I quit that job maybe a month ago. I've started getting back into it again because I'm not burnt out and I'm not tired, and I have the energy and I have the drive to do it. So I actually came up with several new ideas as of late. You know about a couple of them. I will have this friend read everything that I write before showing it to anybody else. True. They have a backstage pass.
It is quite an honor, honestly.
Yeah, they see works that you guys never see. You never see the light of day, but they see their eyes at least.
I see everything.
They see everything.